Monique, sorry. How is everyone?
We're doing great.
Fantastic, brother. Sorry, I think we're just, I think we've got everyone that's talking in the room now, don't we, Sean?
I believe so. I think we're all sorted out and ready to kick this off. All right, make sure everyone that is listening and hopping in here to share this across Twitter, get your friends in here, and we'll have a great conversation as we go forward. Again, we're really excited for this partnership with Lossless, trusted and safe DeFi ecosystem with minimal to no losses from, they're protecting these projects on many different levels. And Will, how do you have a little bit of a background to get us started here on how this partnership came about?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, can't remember who introduced us, but I'm thankful that they did. We had a few chats with Lossless, which went really well. Basically, it's pretty simple. They offer incredible utility that protects your token, right? So it's basically a no-brainer. I'd love Monica to talk a bit about their history because they've done some incredible things. They emerged at a time where some pretty big hacks were going on. And they've presented a really solid solution that I think is spreading like wildfire, to be honest. So I believe we're one of the early adopters, which is also pretty cool. But security is one of the biggest problems we face in this space, right? So, we are competent. We've got great advisors and great developers, and we're a very cool game studio. But we're by no means the top of the crop in the crypto space for cybersecurity. And so working with people that are elite in these areas is really important for us. So I'm very, very thankful that we found Lossless, and it's great to be working together.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah. So Monica, why don't you tell us a little bit about the background of Lossless?
Of course, I'd be happy to, and wanted to thank as well a lot for Will for such kind words. I mean, when it says elite, it means a lot to me in reputation-wise. As for Lossless, what we do, our niche is definitely security. That's our core word. And what we do is we are the first DeFi hack mitigation tool for token creators. And it might sound difficult, but it's actually pretty easy to understand because what we do is we basically create infrastructure for various projects that are issuing tokens. And what they can do is they can implement our core protocol, which then allows us to, with our white hat hacker network and their bots, they allow us to view the project's transactions, spot hacks if any are happening, freeze those transactions that are actually hacks, and then even revert the money that is being stolen. So that's the solution we're building here. We're about to launch it this quarter. And yes, our ecosystem is expanding rapidly. Fight Legends were one of the early adopters, as you said. Currently, we have around 50 partnerships in total in the ecosystem, but they are diversified because we have almost 30, I think, if not plus 30 of those partnerships are already project integrations. So projects integrating our protocol into the token, and others are various launch pads and other type of partnerships that allow us to increase reach in DeFi so that more and more projects would know about Lossless and would have the availability, the chance to integrate us in the first place. That would probably be a brief introduction of what we do here.
That's fantastic. And I mean, for someone like me who's been around the space for a while, but it's only just diving into NFTs, how does that actually work? Obviously, you can't tell us IP-wise, but how would that protocol actually pick up on the nefarious activities that are going on?
So currently, the solution that we have allows us to track token transactions. Maybe in the future we will have the chance to apply this to the NFT technology as well. But currently, the core focus is on tokens, and the core protocol is launched on them in this direction. How it works basically is that we are working with a network of white hat hackers, so the good guys of hacking, the ethical hackers also, as they're called. And what they can do is we are creating a tool for them. Well, call it an infrastructure, a tool, whichever makes more sense to you, where they can integrate their bots or track transactions manually and just review them. And if they see that a transaction has some type of suspicious signals, I don't know, like a huge sum of money being immediately transported, or there's like a sequence of transactions with the same amount of money to the very same wallet and so on, or any other type of signals that might indicate this is bad news, they then have the power to freeze that transaction from 24 to 48 hours and basically initiate an investigation. So what happens is that during those hours when the transaction is frozen, a white hat hacker has to stake lossless tokens to report the hack in the first place. This way we do the so-called positive and negative motivation. So in the positive side is that if the hack is actually true, the white hat hacker that found the hack is going to be rewarded. But the negative side is that if you didn't do your due diligence here and you didn't like overturn all the rocks possible, those stake tokens that you placed in there, they might be taken from you just because you didn't do all the homework. Let's call it this way. So what happens is the transaction is frozen, an investigation starts, and our decision-making body, which is comprised out of the tokens creators, out of Lossless team, and also out of third-party specialists like auditing companies or lawyers and such, people who understand how transactions work and how hacks work, they then do the investigation and decide if this is actually a hack. And if so, they issue a decision, yes, this is a hack. Then we revert all of the money that has been stolen, and the finder is rewarded. The lossless holders who staked on top as well are rewarded. Lossless also takes a percent here, and for our continuous work. And the decision-making body, the committee as well, if you can call it this way, also takes a percent for the work that they did during the investigation. Of course, if it's not a hack, if it so comes to the conclusion that this was actually good work, this was just a simple transaction, then the transaction is unfrozen, it moves forward as if nothing happened, and the money goes to where it was supposed to go in the first place. Sorry for the technicalities. This is a technical solution, but since we are the first in the industry to do this, I'm just explaining in full detail so that everybody would be on the same page.
Well, no, that's exactly what's required. I mean, that's fantastic. It was a great answer. So, yeah, please, Shawnee, what do you got, mate?
Yeah, that's great. It's Will, go ahead. Did you have something there?
Oh, it was a funny little pass the parcel. That was such a good explanation. No. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
I mean, if anyone's got any questions around any of that, stick your hand up, ask the chat, do that whole jive, come and say hello.
Yeah, Hervé, I brought you up. Yeah, do you have a question?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I just studied your project and I see that you have a very good project, but I wanted to know what set you apart from your competitor? What makes you special compared to your competitor? And what particularity do you bring? Thank you.
Is this for Fight Legends or is this for Lossless? Or both?
Good question.
Hey guys.
I think we can both answer this one.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead first, Monica?
So Monica.
Sure.
Well,
yeah, sorry,
one sec, Raptor. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. I'll just answer quickly and we'll be able to continue then. So what distinguishes us from the competition? So first things first, we are, I love to say this word, it might sound like we're raising our noses or something, but we're the first movers in the security
Monica, let's try to
industry in
wrap it up.
DeFi.
I don't got all day.
Okay, sure. We can move forward faster. We are the first movers in the industry. There's not a lot of projects here that are doing this. For example, if you go into CoinMarketCap's website and you go into the cybersecurities category, you would only see around 13 projects listed there. We are one of the first ones who are doing this niche type of work. The thing is that no other security projects have a solution as we are creating right now. Yes, other projects are also tackling the security issue, of course, but all of them are doing it from a different angle. So our angle is to create an infrastructure where the community and the white hat hackers, the technical people, can use it and start cleaning up DeFi from hacks. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Last year, we lost around, not around, even over $10 billion in all the hacks that have happened. So it's tremendous numbers. It's over 2 times higher than what we had in 2020. So it signals that there's not enough tools here in the industry to use, and that's what we're actually doing. So it might look niche type of work because it is yet an industry, an area to receive the spotlight, but that's what we're working on. And I pass over to Fight Legends to do the same intro as well.
Thank you. Hard act to follow. Look, what sets us apart from our competition? Well, we're pretty unique, to be honest. We're very unique for a whole bunch of reasons. So, I believe, as far as I know, we're the only game studio developing what will be a AAA fight game for the space and beyond. It's not for the space; it's for everyone, but it's birthed within the space. Integrating NFTs and play to earn on a game of that level has not been done before, well, especially a fight game. So that's probably our one major claim to fame. But look, our studio is working with OG devs. You know, our animation director comes from Tekken. Our stage designer did stages for Street Fighter V. We're talking to and working with other people, which we can't announce yet, which are really going to blow the space wide open, which is going to be amazing. To really bring something of a quality that hasn't been seen in crypto fight games before, right? So not a lot of people in the space are doing fight games. The ones that are pretty cool. It's very, very few and far between. And I try and support the ones that do, but it's just not a dynamic that is awash with people trying it, right? Like RPGs work really well for play to earn. They make sense. And NFTs, you know, games that have a high item count and a collectability for those items. These work really well. Battle Arena is easier to develop than a proper esports top tier fight game. So the degree of difficulty isn't there. And so you'll see a lot more of them pop up. So we're not an overpopulated genre that's coming out of crypto, which is really cool. But then if you look at the wider space, if you look at mainstream fight games, which are our real competition, right? Like crypto's for collaboration. Our competition comes primarily from the people outside of crypto, the mainstream games, who hold 99% of the player base, and of that player base is mostly anti-NFT at this point in time. So they're the real challenges we face when we want to go mainstream, which isn't that far off. You know, that's next year we start to approach that market. So what we do there to set ourselves apart, one of the main things we do is bring a depth that hasn't been seen before. So rather than bring play to earn, bring NFTs, which are a given, that's not the selling point for the mainstream gaming community. We need to bring innovation that they fall in love with. And then when they're in love, say, oh, by the way, there's your NFTs, right? So that they don't reject the NFTs. They approach NFTs from a place of love rather than fear and apprehension and hate. So ways we innovate there is by bringing depth to a mainstream fight game. What I mean there is, I guess if you Googled, what's wrong with fight games? What's the biggest problem with fight games? You'll generally always find that people reference the lack of depth in single player mode, the lack of depth in story mode, the lack of extra dimensions beyond what makes fight games awesome, which is, the fighting. So we bring a truly enriched story mode to ours, different from what's been done before, but we also bring levels to our fighters. We also bring rarities to each individual fighter. We stack things differently. We bring mechanics that allow you to move through the rarity phase of the NFTs. So upgrading the rarity of your NFTs by sacrificing and summoning. Our fighters, by leveling up and being a persistent journey that the player takes with the fighters that they collect, they interact with a trainer in a gym, and there's a lot of depth, which we can go into detail later, that hasn't been seen before in fight games. So I think we've separated ourselves from everything in crypto and everything outside of crypto, which is pretty exciting. And
That was a fantastic, great question. Does anyone else have another question?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah, go to Anton. Go ahead. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Monica, I'm Anton. And we've just been looking at the documentation a little bit, and apparently the Lossless team reviews frozen addresses by hand when there's a suspected hack. So are there any plans on the agenda for AI or something else to kind of speed up that process and help scale up the product for the future?
Yes, that's actually a question we get quite often because it also is a sort of an element of centralization because currently there's simply no other way to shape the decision making so that somebody would take the responsibility of deciding whether this is a hack or not. That's why we have 3 parties in the decision making body to make that decision and make it after an investigation with all the arguments. You don't really know what the future holds. There might be other elements, other mechanisms in store, like we could introduce something else. There are some internal thoughts about how to make this much faster and also less centralized. For now, of course, we have what we have. We have the decision-making body. We have somebody taking the responsibility and somebody helping us mitigate the hacks that we have in the industry. But naturally, we'll see what the future brings for not only Lossless, but for all the DeFi projects here.
That's amazing, thank you. And also, someone else in my room mentioned also, is there a plan to go, or is there already kind of open source access so that the community can also assist in creating better ways to spot hacks?
So currently, the entire code, as you say, what is happening with our core protocol and the entire mechanism can be found on our GitHub. As well, our SDK has been placed in the Rockston network on the testnet. So you can go on and also try and see how it works. Of course, this is aimed at people who are, like you asked, who are willing to add from the community and to help us progress even further. That's why we're releasing everything publicly, since like I mentioned in the very beginning, it's not a tool we're building for ourselves, for Lossless to manage. It's actually infrastructure for others to use. So we're basically creating opportunities, and how the white hat hackers or developers or whomever is interested in mitigating hacks would like to take charge of these tools, you're very welcome to do this.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
That's great, Monica. And talking about decisions, Monica, I mean, what sort of turnaround time are we talking about for the party to actually make these decisions? And a secondary question to that would obviously be, the more people that you bring in to the protocol, what's the scalability with these decisions going to be like?
So starting from the timeline, let's say a hack is spotted and it is being reported. So we have a white hat hacker who is reporting the hack for us by staking the Lossless tokens. What's going to happen is going to be frozen from 24 to 48 hours. And in that span of time, we start to do the investigation. If during that time, and it means it's an interval, so it can be shorter, it can be prolonged, but it's that interval that we have to start an investigation. If we start seeing signs and the decision-making body sees that, oh, okay, this is actually a transaction that we need to get deeper in, it could be an actual hack here. The decision-making body has the power to prolong the freezing of the transaction there, but definitely not like for forever. More like for a couple of more days until we have a decision made. But again, it doesn't mean that we will prolong it each time or anything. It's just that we have a span of time. It can be faster, it can be longer. Definitely depends on the difficulty of the hack that we are facing here. If one is reported, of course. As for scalability, we currently are building the third party committee, if you could call it, that third segment from the decision making body, because like I mentioned in the beginning, we have the lossless team, we have the token creators team, and we also have the third party specialists like auditors and such who also come into play. And we are building a network as well, like you could call it, like the same as we are doing with white hat hackers, who are going to help us. So scalability here is definitely, well, from at least from my perspective, it's a good thing, because you have people whom you can quickly ask to come and invest their time when we have an investigation at our hands. From another perspective, it might look like, probably from your side of perspective, it might look like stalling because we have lots of people on board. But like I mentioned, I see it as a good sign, as we have resources to whom we can reach out to in a critical moment and ask them for help to come into their workstation, basically, which they have agreed upon, and help us decide and investigate if this is a situation that needs either more time to investigate and to return the funds to the owner, or it's actually everything is cool here and we can just remove the freezing here.
Great. I have another question. If no, I know I'm hogging the floor.
No, go
Sure,
ahead.
go on.
That's awesome.
Monica, first of all, I just want to say your answers are amazing. Like, seriously, you're a wealth of knowledge. And whoever told you to hurry up before, I don't think they understood how much knowledge you have to share. We don't even know who that was, but
Yeah, sorry
yeah,
about that.
no, please don't apologize. We don't even know what happened, but anyway, there must be a misunderstanding there, because you're sharing amazing things. Anyway, the question is there a noticeable difference in performance when using lossless? Like, is it slower if we're using lossless than if we weren't using it, as far as our platform is concerned?
Well, this could be looked at in a few different perspectives. So let's say you don't have lossless integrated and you just go into the market as you are now. What it means is that you have your own security measures in your smart contract, and you just trust the audits that have been done, and think that there are no loops inside that can be used for your project to be wrecked and so on. And that's one scenario. And then we have the scenario where you have lossless integrated. You can always shut it off if you want to. We always leave this option for our projects who integrate the core protocol. That's why we always say that it's better to have us in the first place, because you can always, if some circumstances change, you can shut us off if you want to. But you always have this shield, let's say, of protection, an additional layer of security on your already existing measures that you have implemented with your developer team. And I always think that, at least for security, there shouldn't be even a question of if we should place any additional measures on top or not. We're not speaking here only about the funds from a project. We're also speaking about our users, our holders of the tokens, which can also be harmed if a hack happens or comes our way. So the difference is that, yes, an additional layer also means more work when it comes to hacking, to spotting, and to the investigation itself. However, I think the rewards, the upside is much, much better here, because what we can do is, if a hack happens and we already prove that our tools are working, for example, with the Gotham case, where our wall protection tool saved them 55K. So that's the upside. You can always step in and you can get back all the money that could have been potentially lost.
Sure. I guess the question is more around like transactional performance. Is that going to be noticeable? And like, for example, like if a tier 1 project came on board today, could Lossless handle that? You know, for any, this is going to go out far and wide. There'll be other projects who are interested in dealing with you guys as well. And we plan to be as big as we can, you know, as big as we can go, of course. So, you know, do you have the, like, would your layer be able to handle high volumes of transactions without significant performance issues?
Understood. Thanks for clarifying. As far as I know from our tech team, there is no indication that our additional layer, let's call it, would slow things down. The slowing down comes to when a transaction is actually frozen. Of course, it stops immediately. But as for the transactions themselves in the project's environment, I don't have information that the tempo, let's say, of transactions would slow down. I can definitely look into this, and if our team indicates that we have some issues here, I'd be glad to share this information. But for now, nothing of the sort has been told to me, so I believe we don't have this circumstance.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
How does this technology apply to exploits on NFT contracts? So can you protect the NFT space with anything you do?
At the moment, no. Like I mentioned in the very beginning, our primary focus is tokens now and launching core protocol for them. That was our primary goal. But like I said, you can never know. NFTs are like they're just becoming our already this daily word that we use. We can't avoid it. It's part of crypto. So naturally, we also have internal discussions of how could lossless be applied here. For now, I don't have anything definite. We just have discussions inside the team. For now, it's tokens, but maybe in the future we will have something else to offer as well.
I have no doubt you will. And here's an interesting question that popped up. How does Lossless protect itself? So you're protecting from the hacking, right? Like, you know, speaking from on behalf of all the people that are non-computer people out there, if you're protecting the hacking, what measures do you take to protect yourself from, you know, being the backdoor in to hackers?
Our security also comes from the same measures that we're creating for other projects. So our tokens, for example, the lossless tokens, also have core protocol integrated. We also have measures set in place, like wall protection that is applied to our project vaults, and the whitelisting measure as well for wallets that can receive the transactions from that vault that we have, and so on. So everything that we are creating, we are basically creating for ourselves, first testing it, then auditing and checking if everything is working as we had planned in the very beginning, and then we use those measures ourselves. Everything we have released, everything we're talking about, what's released is already applied to us ourselves, and what's going to be out is going to be applied to. So we have the same measures as we offer to everybody else.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. I've just noticed Dave Fretz is a speaker, and I've got to give him a shout out very quickly. And it's great to see him in the room. This is one of MMA's greatest community picture makers. So welcome, Dave. Do you have a question, brother?
Will, thanks very much. I appreciate that. It's been a long time. It's great to speak to you. And this is a fantastic discussion here. And Monica, I really also appreciate your answers. And I wanted to just go back a couple questions. There were some really interesting performance questions in regards to how it performs, and you noted that you give option to shut lossless off, and I'm just wondering if you can expand on that a little bit and maybe scenario for us, perhaps why we would want to shut it off, and what that looks like and what maybe you've run into. I'm just curious on that point.
Thank you so much for the question, and thank you for the kind words. I always, when participate in such events, I try to give as elaborate answers as possible, even though they're longer. Coming back to your question, we keep this this option for the project because you never know what might happen in the future. Maybe just their circumstances change, and for some reason they want to shut lossless off because we, like I mentioned, the centralization element of our decision-making body. Not all projects tend to understand what stands behind the decision-making body, and they fear the word centralization itself. So sometimes when you leave those projects alone, they start like thinking internally what this means for their project, and they suddenly decide that they don't want this anymore. So for such cases where something maybe even out of our power, something internally inside the team, new management, for example, new investors or something, and they have, I don't know, their own thoughts about security, that this is not the way to go or anything else, we always leave this option for them. The case here, though, is that why I mentioned that we tell projects it's better to have us because you can always shut it off, because currently in this quarter especially, projects can only integrate us if they have an upcoming token launch. Existing smart contracts don't have this opportunity. We're going to issue wrapping technology in Q2, but for now it's only tokens that are about to be launched. So we always tell them that if you launch your token, that's it. You can't place lossless inside anymore. But if you do place us, and for some reason in a certain span of time your thoughts on this change, you can always press the off button because we have this function left for you. So it's like you could call it thinking a few steps ahead, because we understand that we're offering security, but you never know what might happen on that other side, on the project's team or on their circumstances. So that's why we have this option here.
Fantastic answer. That really clears that up. Thank you very much. And yeah, I hadn't thought about the smart contracts, and once they're written, that's kind of it. So it makes a lot more sense. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Great questions. And before we'll take the others, I just want to remind everyone that if you share this space and ask a question, tag 3 of your friends, you're available to win NFTs and spots on our whitelist. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Matt. I think you were up next if you have a question.
Hey, how you going? Yeah,
Doing great.
I was just wondering, does this just monitor the transfer of tokens, or does it monitor the sales as well? And if it does monitor the sales and it freezes the transaction, what happens when there's a price impact? Like if it drops 20% overnight or something, is there a guarantee on the current price that you initially chose to sell at?
The technology currently overviews transactions, token transactions. So to put it simply, a project, let's say LossLess, has the code inside the tokens, and we are able to view absolutely each and every transaction that involves LossLess. So if a white hat hacker or his bots that he released onto the platform sees something suspicious, notices that there's a potential exploit happening in front of our eyes, they freeze that transaction, and that's it. and yes, we have this gap of stopping a transaction. But like I said like I said before, that's why we have intervals. The priority here is always to do decisions and investigations as fast as possible, to not stall any processes, like you mentioned, that any price drops or any impact on it and so on. But it involves only one transaction, so or a couple of them if they're connected in a hack. That's the interest here, to do it in a speedy way, so to clear things off as fast as possible. And the other thing is that it touches only the transactions that are possible exploits in the transactions that we see in the entire list.
Yeah, but you said you look for repeat transactions. So if I say I always sell 10,000 tokens at a time continuously, because it's a nice round number and that's just what I do, that will pick it up as suspicious.
No, it won't pick
No?
it up.
Okay.
That's why we have white hat hackers here. They are the ones to decide and to investigate the transactions that they see. It's not an automatic system, only regarding the bots that will be created by
Okay.
white hat hackers themselves. So it's not like there's a fixed number that we already deem as suspicious and we have to stop it immediately. No, it's more like transaction overview, and if we see something that smells fishy, we then do the freezing. But again, it's not Lossless doing the freezing, it's the white hat hackers who have experience in these things.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt, for that great question. Praven or Pravin, why don't you go ahead? Do you have a question for us? While we're seeing if he's going to unmute and ask a question, feel free, anyone else, to pop up
Well,
and ask him a question.
Just going to say,
Go ahead.
Sorry, Pravin, you go ahead, mate.
Yeah, just wanted to ask one question. How does the price of BTC affect your strategies in terms of rollouts and new product features rollout?
I think it's again for probably both projects. We're both rolling out products
This is
and
for Lossless
new
as well
things.
as
Oh,
Fight Legend.
okay, sure.
Both.
So, well, unfortunately, BTC is doing what it's doing. We can't really change the course of action in the world that we're having, or in the markets as well. We don't have that power. Nobody does. How it affects us, though, is that, of course, we see in each and every project price changes. But from our side, at least, we are product oriented. It's more important for us to release the technology so that we would start cleaning up DeFi than to earn something from the tokens, for the project. I mean, for the project perspective, not for the holders. This is totally lossless now. So what we're always telling everybody is that we are all about technology. Since the industry doesn't have this type of solution, our job and our team's goal is to release this tool so that we'd start finally to fight the hacks that we see, I don't know, probably bi-weekly now, on a bi-weekly basis, and to stop losing all that money, because I mean, January was already exquisite in hack numbers and in the money that we lost, wormhole hack and so on. I mean, wow. And it immediately proves that solutions are necessary. So that's how it affects us. It basically, for us, means that yes, we understand that markets are changing. Yes, BTC is moving in volatile directions. However, our determination to finish the product does not change. And we mentioned to our community as well multiple times that no matter what market conditions are, Lossless is continuing its work. We're going to release all the projects that we have planned, and that's the road that we're going to stay on.
Excellent answer. I will. A lot of my answer is the same. The way it is for Fight Legends is different from the way it is for investors. Investors need the high returns over whatever time. That's what they're looking for. But from Fight Legends, whatever the market does, we build our product. The vast majority of our revenue comes initially from NFTs, and in the long run, NFTs and standard digital products sold to non-NFT people, skins and stuff, as we're luring them into the game. So, we've got a revenue model that does not rely or feed off our token at all. And that allows us to continue building. And in a downturned market, it's the ones that are building high quality products that survive. They're often the only ones that survive if the market gets bad enough. And when the market's good, they're the ones that are thriving the most. So we're just going to be that, right? We have funding avenues. Whatever BTC does, it doesn't dictate what happens in the NFT space. Any analyst can see the drastic separation between Bitcoin and NFTs. Even in Bitcoin volatility, you've seen people take stronghold in the NFT space. And that's only going to grow tenfold, 100-fold in a few years to come. The money at the gates from outside of NFTs feeding the growth of that industry is just astronomical. So strange things are going to happen bear season or bull season, right? So, but yeah, that doesn't dictate the success of our project or the product, what we're building, the timeline. It doesn't really impact us greatly at all. What's important is we just continue achieving as best as we possibly can, and thrive even in a bad time. That's it.
Okay, got it. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
That's a great answer, brother. Great answer. I think we've got another question here from Mark. Is it?
Yeah. So I'm really curious with, like, I mean, first of all, congratulations on the partnership with Lossless. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Lossless, and seeing you guys like collaborating with them is really bullish for me, because I'm also huge into the play to earn space, and it's just a question for Fight Legends. And I'm invested in majority of the well-known play to earn games now. Do you guys have any plans on creating scholarship programs, or is this not in the books yet?
Yeah, we've got a wonderful approach to scholarship programs and that function. So in our game, firstly, we have a core function that allows you as the owner of a fighter to, in 2 clicks, put your fighter out for hire. When your fighter's out for hire, a free-to-play player can come along, select them from the queue, and begin playing. And the revenue will be automatically split. And the owner of the fighter will gain the fighter retains the tokenized experience, which is necessary for upgrading your fighter. So the owner gets all the experience. And at this point, we've drafted 50% of the revenue, but we're also looking at making that adjustable. So you as an owner can say, well, I'm putting this fighter out for hire. I want 65% of the cut. Bam. And you put him in the list. The better the fighter, the more bargaining power you've got as an owner. So that allows a free hire system. So on one end of the scale, anyone can work up from zero money, zero purchase, earn, eventually maybe find an NFT in the very, very, very rare drop that they might get from grinding the game, or receive enough rewards to purchase an NFT, and away they go on their journey, And as an owner, it allows you to very easily have your inventory and put them out and earn off them in the same way a scholarship works, just automatically. So decentralized, I guess. But then that leaves guilds out in the cold a little bit sometimes, or existing scholarship programs. But what we do to partner with them and bring them in is create reward incentivized factions. So it will benefit people to be part of factions. So that'll allow big guilds to come in, brand their faction within our game, develop an even bigger base inside the game, and be rewarded for that.
That actually, yeah, that sounds amazing. I mean, it's really similar to this game that our guild recently invested on. I'm not sure if you've heard of Pegaxi, but
Yep.
The issue with that model is, there are lots of bots who try to gather, because you mentioned free to play players can rent out these fighters, correct?
Yep.
yeah, so like what are the plans to, to combat these like bots who will try to abuse that system? Because that was the issue back then with Pegaxi, and not, they have been banning accounts, but still there are still lots of bots circulating around that system who are just basically trying to snag all these share profit systems on their website.
Yeah, I think. Look, I am not the best person to answer that. I'm not sure if Dalen's in here, but he probably is. No, he's not. He's actually in a super important meeting. So we don't have Dalen, and he would be the man to answer that question in far more detail than me. But I think the primary protection comes at the purchase points. So we have to somehow protect ourselves from bots there primarily. But then in the game, he's mentioned a whole bunch of things to me about how we can protect from bot action there as well. But once bots own the NFT, it becomes an ethical dilemma of like, are you allowed to freeze NFTs as part of a collection because you suspect or have proof that they're being owned by bots, right? So that's all being discussed between our team and advisors and actually future advisors, because we've got about another probably 4 months to really develop our initial protection, and then we're going to be developing it over the remainder of the year anyway and fine-tuning it with staggered releases to really control any damage there. So hopefully we can invite bots in and flesh out our defense mechanisms in the first sort of 3 to 4 months of development, like public development, sort of here moving forward, here to mid-year. So you'll get much better answers as we go through that. And look, we do that with complete transparency. So, our NFT holders for the bloody faces that we have right now, they get access to play the test build of the game and communicate with the team. So all of this sort of development on security and bots will somewhat be open source to a community of developers, which we're blessed to have in the NFT and gaming space, to be invited to contribute to our efforts. But we also lean on partners, people like Lossless, are great advisors to help us fine tune and develop. And hopefully we can glean a little bit from what's been happening lately in the space, like you said, with Pegasus and other projects. So I hope we can give a better answer to you in another AMA, and we'll definitely have Dalen up to talk about it.
Cool. Thanks, William.
Pleasure.
Well, I was also going to say we do about 3 AMAs a week, and normally Dalen is in at least one of them. So, and also if you're not following on Fight Legends Media on YouTube, we're also having weekly dev updates, and if you submit questions and stuff, we also ask him those questions as well. So there's a couple of places that you can keep your eye on to get all these answers. Who else we got there, Sean?
It looks like we got Hardcore up here to ask a question. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, nice. I'm glad somebody recognized that it was Hardcore.
Oh yeah, buddy.
That's awesome. I believe it was William who was talking about the NFT marketplace system and how that like pretty much creates the economy and new content generated and the purchases and such from the content. It just hearing that kind of reminds me of Apex Legends marketplace. Is there going to be seasons to this game that just kind of go on through the course of the game?
Yeah, absolutely. So there'll be ranking reward seasons stacked on top of tournaments, but the release of the game comes in sort of a seasonal expansion. So we want to bring that seasonal culture and vibe and feel into how we expand. What that means is, so our first alpha will probably have the first 2 regions, each with 8 stages. So you remember the old Street Fighter map, how you fight around the world? That's all the different stages, that's all the different fighters, that old school thing. We have a region, and you fight your way around the region in single player mode, right? So we'll release 2 of those regions with all the fighters, with all the stages, and then we'll develop the third season, the third region, sorry, and we release it with the fanfare of a new season. It's an expansion. It's not a rotating roster. Here's the expanded set of fighters and a whole new region to grind in single player mode and a whole bunch of other goodies that come with that kind of expansion. And we kind of want to pump them out 3 to 4 times a year at full capacity, which is kind of crazy fast. So probably 3 times a year once we're up to, our full size, I guess. But PvP also has season. That's a reward structure thing. So We haven't defined whether that's going to be, like fortnightly, monthly, quarterly seasons. We have not defined that yet. But definitely, seasons is a great way to reward people.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah, there's all sort of utility out there you're seeing from places. Like I play a lot of Splinterlands, and they definitely have a really cool season set up that really gets players in there grinding towards the end, and the rental market always goes up towards the end of the season. So it's a pretty interesting dynamic they have. So thank you very much for the question there, Hardcore. Do we have anyone else looking for questions as we kind of wrap up here? Thank you again for everyone showing up. Go ahead. I've heard someone, I think.
I mean, I think I have.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just a few things to say. First of all, I love the presentation. I just went through the website. I just joined in. I absolutely loved it. Like the colors, the presentation for the characters, how you set up the whole arena. Man, I just have a lot of questions, but I'll just try to just keep it to two. One, when it comes to single player mode, right? What would be the actual like function to it? Is it gonna be played originally like Street Fighter, or are you gonna like roam the map like Streets of Rage or Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks? Like, is that an idea of it, or are you gonna have like a system where you fight random fighters, and then like each region, the end, you gotta like fight something like Rugal, who's like insanely hard to beat, and I would like give you a bonus or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, great question. And please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. I'll hang around. I don't know how late it is where Sean is,
Like,
and if
I
that's
play a lot
actually
of
looking like.
I play a lot of like fighting
We
games,
can
so
go
like
all night.
Yeah, and, awesome. So one of the things we originally wanted to do this whole time, right? And you always have ideas bigger than what ends up being created, right? Usually. And so we really wanted to have that two-dimension thing. So you've got the dimension of the fighting, and then you've got the dimension of the open world. So you can roam around like Pokemon, except you stumble across a wild Chris Lieben and punch on with him and get him and take him back to your gym, and now he's your fighter, right? So it would be really cool to have that. And then the fights are actual Street Fighter fights instead of turn-based Pokemon fights. That's a really cool, awesome vision. But production-wise, marketing-wise, strategy-wise, it's not something that fits initially, right? It's something that could be looked at as a massive expansion of the game. So you take the game into the metaverse, your own metaverse, and that's your metaverse, which is highly likely for a bunch of reasons. But it wouldn't be part of the initial build because we want to focus on obviously the mainstream fight game community, capturing the play-to-earn community, bringing them both together, getting mainstream appeal. And to achieve that in a timeline that's even reasonable, we wouldn't develop out the sort of open worldy thing, which we love to and come later. But initially, so you'd be kind of going through the stages. The stage would be represented by an icon, button, whatever, on top of a map. So you're not running around, you're just clicking in just like old school Street Fighter. Definitely fight your way through different opponents up to a boss fight. Definitely going to be adding the crazy fights like kicking the shit out of the car from Street Fighter, or fighting the Kraken or some massive beast or whatever it's going to be. We're going to do a bunch of cool stuff like that in the single player regions which you grind through, playing with elements that what was that game? Lost Relics, I think it was a play to earn game, and it was a dungeon crawler, right? And you crawl through the dungeon, and
that's right.
If you don't make it out alive, you don't keep the NFT you found or your rewards. So the game of a grinder, what feeds grinding single player, especially the dungeon crawlers, is one mechanics like that. So it could be you grind your way through the region to get all your rewards. You have to make it out before your team of fighters loses all their health, for example. Then we also, this one's on the drawing board, but having players fight through a series of like henchmen before you fight the main fighter. So fight kind of like their sidekicks. a bunch of gammon fights, and then fight the main boss, the main fighter, and then do that again 8 times and fight your way through the region, and then go off to another region to fight your way through that. Yeah, that's kind of how our single player mode will work.
No, no, like I was just like thinking about it. Maybe sorry, I like maybe thought a little bit like too far, but I could see it as an expansion. And what's really like cool about that, whatever, because if you ever had that type of expansion, you could like practice and integrate doing like because there isn't much games that's really doing like fighting battle royale, you know, because that's what like people are really looking for, something that really steps up fighting games. You know, from me still like playing Guilty Gear Strive heavy and Tekken an amount, because like the adoption, I can be real with you, the adoption of NFT fighting game is gonna be really hard because like the perception of NFTs are weird. And when it comes to fighting games in the community, especially on Twitch, you know, being heavy in there as well, um, it just got to be good because people judge hard for the fighting game community, super hard. But like I like the basis and how the testing is, because like I saw at the end that y'all mentioned Project L as Project L, and how the mechanics work. I like it, and I also tried DNF Dual Beta as well. So I just feel like if it depends on the route that you guys take. You can either make it. I mean, I would make it KOF hard because that's super hard. But like if it's like DNF Dual / Project L, where the inputs are kind of simple, but you could also give extra damage if they put the actual like Shoryuken input.
Hey,
So-
digital chill. Sorry to interrupt you, man, but Will's phone has died. So he's just jumping back in there. He's missing, I think, everything you're saying. So if you can just bear with us, because he's loving your conversation a lot, and so are others, I'm sure. So,
sorry. Wait, did I do something wrong?
It's not your fault, man. His battery died. He's having too much of a good time and forgot to plug in. So, so we're just gonna have to bear with us for a minute. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't. It still shows them sitting there. So yeah, I didn't even see. So thank you, Anton, for letting us know.
Wait. What did y'all want me to do? I'm confused.
Oh no, you're good. Just wait a moment for Will to get back on here, and then we'll go from there. I think. What do you think, Anton?
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe does anyone have any questions for Monica while we're waiting for Will?
Absolutely.
All right, while we wait for Will, I actually want to ask, because like I know nothing about LossLess. I am new here. I just saw a fighting game, and I was like, "Ooh, hold on, let me see," because like I've been very inquisitive about the NFT gaming space, and I've been like searching about 100 different types and trying to figure like what really works, right? And a lot of things is kind of like copy pasta. You know what I mean? So like we really need some individuality. And that's what I saw. So I was like, I saw it open, I saw the opportunity. So I'm in here. But I saw LossLess actually talking about some DeFi. Your boy, I love that DeFi. So very inquisitive until he comes back. What exactly is LossLess?
Even fighting games need security inside their play environment and the currency that they have internally. Yeah, so lossless is basically in one word, security. So what we do, and I believe we have even more new listeners here, so I'll try to be brief. So what we do here is we help projects secure their tokens, so not just project funds, but also tokens in the holder wallets. What we help do is projects integrate us into their tokens, which allows us to view their transactions, spot hacks if there are any happening, and then freeze those hacks in order to decide if it's really a hack, it's an exploit happening, and then return all the stolen funds that would have been lost in the time of the hack. So that's in brief what we do to ensure security in DeFi.
So basically, it's like hacking protection, some extra security, and ethical hacking.
Correct. Yes.
Hey, oh, I love this.
Thank you.
That was a cool question and answer. I am on
Yeah, thank you.
right now because my phone has shut itself.
Super Annie, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Super Eddie, it's me. It's William.
Oh, it is Will. Oh, geez. Okay, I was wondering where that voice came from. I was like, okay,
My phone died, and so I'm on Annie's phone.
perfect.
Wait.
And I missed the start of something that sounded really good, or the end of something that was sounding really good. So I don't know if you guys covered that or not.
Wait, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to use a brain blast. Hold on.
Oh yeah, no worries there. Yeah, thank you very much for your question. If you can think of anything else, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, Lossless is it's the perfect match. You know, every project needs to have this kind of security going forward. This is the future of, you know, projects being able to be safe and secure for new players, whether they're really veterans of the space or not. We want people to be able to feel safe and have a smooth onboarding experience. So this is all part of that experience, I think.
Yeah, and I like that because even the major NFTs or gaming cryptos do not even like worry about that protecting their whole system. So I'm glad that someone within this realm is focusing on that. So thank you again, Lossless DeFi. I'll definitely be checking out the system. But with the fighting game, right? There's a lot of mechanics that I'm just like very, very interested in because there's just so much roots, you know. Especially from Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken, meter management, KOF. It's just so exciting to see. I'm just very curious on what is Fight Legends really thinking about, honestly, because like the whole, does every character has different guts, like so defensive level that health. So like for example, in Guilty Gear Strive, if you hit someone very early in the game, you could maximize the highest amount of damage in the combo. And as your health get lower, you do less damage. So like it's just so much ways to like play fighting games because I love the fighting game. So I'm very happy that Fight Legends is taking on this approach. So for the NFTs, like I heard about the whole scholarships and guilds and clans. Is there gonna be land, like, or somewhere around, or
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, so we're going to have NFT fighters, right? Obviously. We're going to have NFT trainers, which are actually coming before the fighters. That's a big NFT drop. We're going to start hyping very soon. That's going to be a 10K PFP style drop. So we really want to capture that PFP market. There's a lot of volume there. There's a lot of support there, and there's a lot of crossover with gaming and that side of NFTs, right? So it's a mixed culture. So our trainers is a drop that's coming very soon, like that, with a lot of in-game utility. And then the gyms themselves, we're going to make NFTs out of them as well. So basically, as a free player, you'll start with like a basic gym and a average Joe trainer, right? You're kind of free to play guys that give you the ability to use those functions at the base level. So the ability to train one fighter at the slowest rate we have, right? But if you own a trainer NFT and a trainer gym and a proper gym, you can expand your gym. You grow your gym will expand over time. I'll tell you how we've created that little mechanic if you want. And on a base level, fighters fight, and one of the things they get is tokenized experience. And that tokenized experience is then spent in a gym by the fighter while the player's away from the keyboard in leveling up the fighter at whatever rate, dependent on which trainer and gym they have. The gym accumulates that tokenized experience and uses that to upgrade itself. So the more a gym has been used to develop and train fighters, the more experience it's going to save up and the bigger it gets, and so on and so forth. So I guess our gyms are kind of like our land. As we expand into going a bit more meta with things, we would almost definitely we'd be remiss not to do a land sale, wouldn't we? It's a wonderful revenue raising opportunity, and it gives you an expansion to your game. It's building out, real estate in the metaverse. So it's a great thing to do. But gyms would be the first version of that. Land will be the down the track meta social thing when we execute a few other long-term plans.
And yachts are selling for 650K USD right now, I hear, in the metaverse. So we're going to get into that.
I actually just thought about something just now. Now that you explained gyms, because like I didn't have enough time to do as much research since I just joined in, but I was trying to read as much as I can. What could possibly be pretty cool? If like how you might have clans or slash like fight clubs, like if you'll find a particular word to group association of people, they could actually have clan battles, right? Almost like how they have so what they do for nationals, for DBZ and Strive, they'll have like Japan versus NA, and it'd be like a 10v10. And if you win that 10v10, you would get you would take a portion of the gym. So your wager is the gym's experience for your trainers. So I think that'd be like a pretty awesome
That's interesting.
That's very cool. That is very cool. You could have like a Gym Wars league, which it allows that function, because that's very similar to the other one that's come up before internally, which is allowing players to bet their actual fighters in the result of matches, or to bet a sum of fight coin or our basic common currency, right? So allowing players to bet rewards amongst each other playing, but having gyms do the same thing, utilizing our tokenized experience. That's brilliant. And or other rewards, right? That's pretty cool. Because gym wars were a thing. Like they came by different names, but if you look back through history in real life, like different martial arts in different places throughout different parts of history, the gyms would go and fight the other gyms to test themselves. That's before there was organized structured tournaments, and even after, really, if you look at Brazil and the Gracies and BJJ and everything else. So definitely a cool function that we'll do, 100%. I mean, and we also have factions as well. So we're going to reward factions, as I said before, sort of the development of groups, which will match up with guilds and the place they play in the space really well, because they can come in, brand their own faction, and they will be a collection of gym owners, players, right? So they would be a great one to engage in those sort of structured gym wars, or league gym wars, or that game mode. Like I can see that we are going to experiment with a lot of game modes over the next 6 to 12 months. That's what it's all about, is kind of playing with the creativity and pushing boundaries and trying things that break the mold a little bit and are new. And so, I mean, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we drop it. But it's, the next 6 months is a great opportunity to try a lot of these different modes and see what works.
Like what modes are you like thinking? Like for me, because the PvP experience is just like sometimes you just sit in a lobby with like your friends, or like people would just join the lobby and you just fight, and you could just like passively gain money. And I think definitely a big part of the FGC is like money matches and like stuff like that. So like you'd wager your fight club like stuff. So like if someone beat you in a set, a 2 out of 3, and like you salty about that because you saw a tea bag or something, you could wager that back for experience, or like the fight club money back. So like that's one thing about the FGC. The FGC is very like passionate about winning, but not like in a toxic way, but more like competitive. It's all about pride. It's all about like you putting in those inputs to, destroy your opponent.
Exactly. It really is, capturing that and bringing that out through all our mechanisms and our economic model, and even the law and the marketing, is really, really, really important. And that kind of captures the theme of the ethos of what runs through the game. It's all about winning. It's all about being the best, finding someone better, fighting them and beating them to be the best, and then also to earn the most, right? It's kind of like fame, glory, and riches. And we're embracing that 100%, from our law to our mechanisms and to the way we structure our tournaments, our leagues, our seasons, even the mechanics. One thing I just want to quickly mention, you touched on before, like the different power-up modes and the, your power-up bar, right? Like, Dalen has introduced the idea of having basically a custom one for every fighter to really bring this crazy, almost League of Legends style level of depth to the Street Fighter style game in regards to that in-fight mechanic. So you'll definitely see some crazy things coming out over the next 6 months that you can come and play and talk to us about. Grab a bloody face, test the game with us, give us feedback, give us suggestions, and have some fun. I reckon you'd love it.
Yeah, because like
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
me, I've been.
Well, hey guys,
I really
sorry, I have to interject here. We've definitely gone over time. This is a great conversation, Digital. We love it so much. We're planning on doing tons of these AMAs. We have gone over time though, so we're looking to wrap up here. Thank you everyone who tuned in, and especially those who hopped on to ask questions. Thank you, Monica from Lossless. Please make sure to follow, check them out, follow Fight Legends, and go to our site to find Discord and more info on the project. Fight Legends Media on YouTube is our new channel, so you can always check that out for regular dev updates and demo play and more. Any last words from Will before we go, or Wombat, or anyone like that, or we'll just head out now?
Well, if we're closing up, I'd like to invite everyone here back to another one, back to our next one. We'll hold another one very, very soon. And I'd love to dig deep into these game questions and these creative concepts and really like continue this conversation. It's a great conversation to be having, and I think we could have a lot of fun. So Digital chill. Yeah, definitely, man. Come have another chat. Hit us up in the DMs and we'll get organized. But everyone else, please come along as well.
Yeah, what we're doing, Will, there is one scheduled for this Friday. We've got Fight Legends Friday, which is an AMA every single Friday. That's US Friday. And then there's a whole bunch of others, Digital Chill. So make sure you're in our Telegram and all of us, or our Discord or wherever we can keep you updated. But yeah, the Digital Chill, you've got a lot of questions, man, and we want to answer them all because you're helping us develop the game as well.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, yeah, you heard it there. Go ahead, Lossless. Monica, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share some wrap-up thoughts as well. So first things first, thank you so much for having us, because it's always very, very exciting to be talking with our partners, with their communities, and we're very happy and excited to have you on board. As well, wanted to share some, let's say, goodbye thoughts that I do invite you to check out Lossless as well. We do have quite some exciting activities for this week. For example, we just launched our own Lossless race on D-Race. So if you'd like to get your own horse and win some Lossless tokens, that's the opportunity for you today. And we also will launch a staking campaign tomorrow. So if you have any Lossless tokens, the small cap is 100. So go on ahead. There's going to be some rewards. So thank you so much for having me, for having Lossless on board as well. And very happy to have you as partners.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Monica. All right, everyone.
And one more thing, sorry. More thing. Will be at Melbourne NFT tomorrow night in Melbourne. So if you are in Melbourne and you want to meet Will and talk gaming with him, then tomorrow night, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., he'll be in Russell Street in Melbourne. I think the tickets are about $37 each. But yeah, I'll be there too. There'll be a bunch of people from our team, devs, marketing people, etc. So come and hunt us down and have a chat with us.
Absolutely.
And I think I'm online tonight for the Blockchain Gaming Alliance introduction to partners sort of thing. So I'll be talking with the founder of Wax and a few other big projects. I'll be talking about our project. So I don't know, check out my Twitter there and come have a listen.
Absolutely. All great stuff. Thank you again, everyone, for checking us out. Again, make sure to follow Lossless and Fight Legends on Twitter, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.